I finally did it. I've reached my peak as a filmmaker because I finally own something from Red. It feels so good to be at this point in my career because now I finally own a Red Sidewinder. It feels great. I just wish I could own one of their cameras. Speaking of cameras, let's talk about switching to the EOS R5. What's up everybody, welcome back to Embassy Arts. On this channel we talk about filmmaking gear, tips, and tutorials. Today I thought we could talk about the upcoming Canon EOS R5 and whether it would be a good idea for you to switch to that camera or not. So let's just jump into it. I was totally taken by surprise when Canon announced this camera. I read all the rumors on all the rumor sites about this camera and was like, this is way too good to be true. I'm not gonna lie to you and say this camera's bad and you should stay away from it because of all this yada yada yada. No. At the end of the day, this camera is going to be a beast, whether people like it or not. If you ask me, this is going to be another 5D Mark II or T2i situation, and Canon will dominate the market once more. With all that said, should you really switch to this camera? A lot of people started off shooting Canon and switched over to Sony, including myself, and they've been staying with Sony ever since because they've been releasing great camera after great camera for the past couple of years. Except the A7S III. I'm still waiting on that camera. Sony, in my opinion, has been a letdown over the past couple of years, not just because of the A7S III, but because the video features have been the exact same in their prosumer lineup. It's still 8-bit, 420, 4K, 30 frames per second capped out. Now I'm not judging, because for most people that codec and bit depth is just fine. Even for me, most of my stuff ends up on the internet for social media. I even shoot an 8-bit 420 for this channel, but for those people who want more or need more, they will have to look into something like an FS5 or an FS7. But if you want that full frame look, you'll have to jump all the way up to the FX9 at 11 grand. That's a lot of money. So for Canon to release this camera at say like 6,000 bucks or less with more resolution and bit depth than the rest of the competition, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, not for me. For a lot of people, when they switched to Sony, they sold all their Canon glass, went fully into the Sony system. This way, they can get the full performance of the autofocus and other features on the cameras. This is a pretty smart move because it's nice to have native glass, I'm not gonna lie. When I switched, I never really sold my Canon glass. I used adapters because some of them gave me features like built-in ND filters, and that made shooting a lot easier for me. I did buy one lens to keep the bulk down when traveling. This way, if I switched, I could sell the camera and the lens as like a kit and not be out a whole lot of money. I had this feeling that someday I would leave Sony for another brand. I'm not a person that's brand loyal by any means. I use the tools that best suit my needs. So keeping Canon glass allowed me to switch from body to body as I went into the future, and as long as there's an adapter for Canon EF, I can use whatever camera I want. Even though I've done this, I still have no full frame glass, and if I want a full frame camera down the line, I'll have to buy all new lenses or just sell the ones I have to upgrade. Looking back on it now, I should have just bought full frame glass in Canon EF. So if you're a Sony shooter or own any other camera brand like Fuji or Nikon, think about the cost of switching. You'll not only have to buy a new body, but you'll have to buy new glass. The new RF glass is amazing, but it comes at a price, you know, and even if you go down the EF route, it'll still cost you some money. Not only that, you'll have to think about like new computers as well. Like when I switched to Sony, I went from shooting 1080p to 4K. My computer couldn't handle that, so I had to create proxies, and it took a long time to finish projects, and not to mention all the extra data I was creating. I can't even imagine how much data that 8K RAW is going to be. The C200 even shoots 4K RAW, and that's still huge. So what does all this mean for Sony shooters with native glass? Should they switch or should they not switch? Well, it just kind of depends on what shooter you are. If you like Sony, then stick with Sony. Like I said, 8-bit 420 is just fine for most stuff, and I guarantee Sony will be releasing a camera that competes with the R5 soon enough, and it'll probably save you a lot more money by just upgrading your body instead of switching to a whole new system. But if you're a shooter that has been waiting to go back to Canon for some time but needed the right camera to do it, this is your chance. What it comes down to is use the camera that makes you the happiest. If the R5 makes you excited to shoot and testing out its capabilities, then go for it, buy it. But if you're perfectly happy with your current setup, don't switch just because the spec sheet says so. Because at the end of the day, the tools that allow you to create work that you're happy with are the best tools to use. And with that said, I'm gonna end the video here. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like this video, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. If you wanna see more from me, click that subscribe button. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.